Good morning and welcome to Backyard and Beyond. This morning we're visiting with Denise England, and so welcome to you, Denise.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great. And of course we want to talk to you because you've just recently returned from Egypt and you've been doing missionary work there, so we want to find out a little more about that. And but let's first find out a little bit about your background. You're just a neighbor to the north from Atlantic.
Yes, I was born and raised and spent most of my adult life in Audubon.
So, how did you come to be in missionary work?
I, about 10 years ago, started going on short-term mission trips, and through the Des Moines Presbytery's Joining Hands Network with Egypt, I made several trips over to partners in Egypt and developed a relationship and got asked to go long-term.
Mm-hmm. Probably met many people, made many friends in Egypt.
Yes, I did. Great people.
Now, what kind of work do you do there? I mean, missionary covers a big topic.
Yes, I work at one of the Synod of the Nile, which is a Presbyterian mission hospital in Cairo, and I'm a geriatric nurse, and I helped them. One of their floors there was turned into a geriatric unit or a long-term care floor, and I helped do education and training in that area.
Mm-hmm. So, Denise, are older people who need geriatric care, are they treated differently in the United States than they are in Egypt?
Yes and no. Traditionally, Egyptians have raised the children and the next generation and the next generation. They all have lived under one roof, and people have just taken care of their parents and grandparents. Just in the last 30 years, they've started going to nursing homes, and there are no rules and regulations like in the United States. So care in Egyptian facilities is all just based on respect of their elders. So there's that kind of compassion there, but it's missing some of the ombudsman and the rules and regulations with the state has forced the United States homes to do more, and that is a little bit lacking there because there's no government oversight to force you to do better.
So you just hope, as you say, that people are treated with respect, and I think almost all of our rules and regulations anywhere are based on what should happen, and it's just kind of the naughty people who don't do those.
Right.
Wherever.
It is, but for some reason it's just like when your parents left, you always did the things you weren't supposed to, and so it's kind of without any oversight. That happens in all walks of life.
Yes, and the same probably in every country in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. People are people, no matter where you are.
And now, when you were like in high school and college, did you do any traveling outside of the United States at that time in your life, just as a part of your classwork or a part of your interest?
Nope. In fact, I was a junior in high school pretty much before I ever left Iowa. So I don't know how I got to the travel bug.
Yeah, so your life changed quite drastically. I was thinking, but you certainly have learned that people are people wherever. And I think that's something we all learn as we travel outside of Iowa to New York, for instance, or we travel outside the United States. Treat people well, and usually they treat you well back.
Yes.
And how old was your oldest patient?
Martha Roy was 97 years old.
Do Egyptians as a tendency live longer than people in the United States, or about the same?
No, the life expectancy of Egyptians is about 60, 65, so it's shorter.
Talk a little more about this partnership, because I know that has been an ongoing kind of program with the Presbyterian Church.
About 10, 12 years ago, the Presbyterian Church started a program based more on what we call solidarity, or it's not Presbyterians or missionaries going and necessarily doing for people and deciding what they need to do. It was based more on we are supporters over here and advocate for you, and we're here to do what you tell us you want us to do, and if not anything needs done. We are here to just be support people and offer whatever we can in the way of helping you. And it was more just a partnership and a exchange of ideas and building a relationship between the two countries within the two churches, Presbyterian churches in both countries. So we each year a group of delegates would go over to Egypt and look at in tour programs and networks over there, and tried each year or every other year some delegates from the Egyptian networks, we would bring them over and have them go through organizations and networks here based on hunger and empowering women. So we've just exchanged ideas and built a relationship on what works in both countries.
And some of that's resulted, as I understand, in increased employment, increased income for some households, and probably increased health care. I'm not sure what all has happened there, but I'm sure it has been a positive move with some families in Egypt.
It has been very, very helpful over there, and has really helped in the villages and the towns where each of the networks functioned. A lot of empowering to women and helping women find ways to make income while they're still staying at home.
Well, Denise, you were supposed to stay a little bit longer than you came home a little early. Give us some background about that.
My term was about to be over, and I would have been coming back to the U.S. for April to start doing some work here before my time was up. And then on January 25th, there was the first demonstration by the protesters and the young activists who were trying to oust Mubarak and help get a more of a democratic government within their country. So I was there for the beginnings of that, and as the demonstrations and the rioting and the looting and all of the shootings of rubber bullets and everything went on, it became just a little bit too dangerous for my liking, and the Presbyterian office in Louisville had me evacuated, and I came home early then.
So this may sound like a silly question after you just said, but were there some times when you really were in fear of your life, for your life?
In the beginning, no. On the Friday when they had the demonstrations, they called, President Mubarak called for the curfew to start that evening, and at about the time of the curfew, about 9:30 that night, Army tanks started rolling down my street. So from my balcony, I sat and watched the Army tanks rumbling, and they're loud, and from 9:30 p.m. until 5 the next morning.
So you knew something serious was going on here.
Yeah, so hour after hour of that, it's like, wow, there is going to be a war or something is going on. Where are all those tanks going? And so it was a little bit nerve-wracking at that time. And then when they started the National Democratic Party building on fire, the black smoke was rolling up, and I'm close enough to downtown that that smoke was coming right past my balcony. And on the Saturday night then, when people started having some of the guns that they had taken from the prisons and the police stations after the policemen had abandoned their jobs and positions, Egyptians typically don't have guns and have never used them. And so I was up on the roof at nights trying to watch down and look at the neighborhood watch crews and, if there were looters in the neighborhood, and just to make sure what was going on, and probably because I'm Snoopy. But on the Saturday night then, I was standing up on the roof, and there were people down below shooting off the guns, and I don't think anybody was aiming at anybody, but the bullet would go by with the tracer following, and it was like, oh, maybe it's not as safe in my neighborhood as I think it is, and maybe I do need to be afraid, and maybe it's time to leave.
Well, we are visiting with Denise England, and if you want to hear more of her story, we're going to kind of leave this up in the air, Denise. If you want to hear more of her experiences and the work she has done, as well as her experience during the Revolution, you may do that by attending the service this Sunday, the 27th, at the United Presbyterian Church in Atlantic, beginning at 10 a.m. And I'm sure then following there's a time where you can visit with people and answer more of their questions.
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. And we're out of time. I really wanted to talk about voting because that was a significant thing that happened, Denise, since all of this went on. But our time is gone. So people will need to come and visit with you at the Atlantic United Presbyterian Church on Sunday at 10 o'clock. And we want to thank you very much for visiting with us today and being on Backyard and Beyond.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Until next time, here's a thought. We find no real satisfaction or happiness in life without obstacles to conquer and goals to achieve.